What's up everyone, Cynthia here, and today we're going to be talking about tough interview questions. As a former recruiter, I noticed a consistent pattern around this topic, which is that candidates typically prepare for questions like, tell me about yourself, why do you want to work for this company, what are your strengths and weaknesses, or why do you want this job? But the number one reason candidates mess up in interviews is because they're not prepared for the unexpected. Suddenly you get thrown random questions you couldn't find online and you freeze or stutter, or you cannot for the life of you figure out what to say. The thing about this is there's always going to be questions in interviews and things in life that we can't prepare for. Which begs the question, how do you prepare for something you can't see coming? So I wanted to make this video to help you do exactly that. I got two new friends of mine to help me out on how to prepare for unexpected interview questions. Let's get to know them first.
I'm Michael Anthony Urbina, and my personal and professional mission is to create and nurture community for BIPOC. Being a Latino, specifically a Salvadorian man, I care tremendously about advancing Latinos and really helping to build multi-generational communities. That combined with my personal interest and my overall love of feminism and advancing women's rights, those two things really are what combine and make up my personal and professional mission. And I'm living this out in two ways, essentially. I'm an executive recruiter at Box, and I lead specifically our diversity recruiting efforts for anything at the company, director and above. I also have my own podcast called Adelante Juntos, where essentially I speak with and interview Latino senior executives, which then gets disseminated to my earlier in career Latino, Latina, Latinx audience.
My name is Guneet, and I am truly passionate about diversity, equity, and inclusion. It definitely took me a while to realize my passion, but thanks to the two current roles that I hold right now and networking with people, it has come to my realization that diversity, equity, inclusion, and the impact I can have on underrepresented communities that don't get that equitable chance in a society where systemic oppression is prevalent is something that really drives me and motivates me every day, like with the work that I do. With that, I am currently a diversity events coordinator at Google, as well as the head of diversity, equity, and inclusion at Blossom Collective. So I'm super excited to transition into a new role on the global brand strategy at Snapchat, where I will also be helping with diversity and recruiting initiatives.
So in addition to giving advice, Michael and Guneet graciously agreed to answer random interview questions without knowing what they were in advance in order for you to see how they responded to being in the hot seat. And trust me when I say I did not go easy on them, so let's take a look at how they did.
The color yellow to somebody who is blind.
How would I describe the color yellow to somebody that's blind?
I think I would describe the emotions and the feelings that I attach to it.
I would describe it more so by essentially tapping into the other senses.
When I see the color yellow, I think happy, sunshine, it's a brand new day. Really thinking about the positives in life to help them understand the kind of feeling you would get from looking at that color.
Instead of, let's say, holding a picture of something that's yellow, I would take like a lemon or a banana and have them just kind of like, feel the object. I know that I can't actually show the person the color, but I can help them experience the color.
That is such an interesting question.
That's a great, interesting question.
I would love a second to think about that.
If I was a pizza man, could I benefit from scissors? Okay, yes, so I can.
If I was a pizza delivery man, let's figure out what from my commute to picking up the pizza at the pizza shop, to delivering it to the resident, what steps would I potentially need a scissor for?
I care tremendously about customer experience, and how I deliver a pizza is going to be just very effective and very relationship driven.
I don't predict the need of scissors. However, there could be circumstances where it is necessary, such as cutting off the end of the receipt so that they have a copy of it and we have a copy as well. Or if you are suddenly stopped on the side of the road and someone's trying to open up this package and you would love to help them open up this package. So you have your scissors handy.
I would use more so the scissors as a metaphor to essentially cut me away from the customer, because I would actually spend so much time with the customer and actually, like, delivering the pizza, talking to them, spending, a lot of time with them and chit-chatting and that type of thing. But the reality of the job is I'm not going to be able to get a lot done if I'm delivering a pizza for an hour at one person's house. That's me just being completely honest with you.
This brings up a lot of questions into my head.
Well, first and foremost, I'd be curious to know,
why was I given an elephant?
if this is in the same city that I'm living in right now, or would I be living somewhere else?
Where am I when I receive the elephant?
I'm going to assume that I would be living here at my house in Daly City, and it would suddenly, let's just say it's in my backyard.
Is there anything the elephant needs that I can provide, and hence it was given to me?
The first thing I'd do is call the Humane Society, because my main concern is this animal getting the food that it needs?
Because my gut reaction is, well, I would just release it into the wild. That's where elephants belong, and it should not be given to me in the first place.
But my goal is, making sure that the animal's fed, and then of course, eventually probably like a day or so, making sure that, I'm doing everything that I can to preserve this animal and give it a really proper home.
But if I get an answer to all of these questions, it would help me better understand the situation that I'm in so that I could give a more appropriate answer.
As you can see, it's okay not to be perfect, and it's their personalities and imperfections that made their answers so great. There are no right or wrong answers. The point here is to showcase how you adapt and how you would approach a situation you know nothing about. Each response shows off your personality and gives the interviewer insight to how you work. So let's dive into what you can do to prepare for this on your next interview. Here are a few questions I asked Guneet and Michael.
I think that recruiters and hiring managers ask these types of questions because they're essentially gauging for both intellectual curiosity and then also vitality as well.
Interviewers are trying to test if you can think on your feet and if you have a little bit of a creative bone in your body.
Essentially, what we're trying to figure out is, who is this person behind the curtain? How do they actually operate? How do they actually think?
Sometimes I would even say that they're looking for a sense of humor. I do know that culture add is a factor when you are interviewing, and it's not just about your skill set, it's about how will you contribute to the culture of the company, and will you be able to get along with the other team members.
So hiring managers are going to differ in terms of what they're looking for, but I think the constant across all hiring managers is just how you go about dissecting a problem.
Hiring managers are looking for how you navigate ambiguity almost, because these are questions that you cannot prepare for.
And I think the biggest thing as well is in dissecting that problem, do you ask questions? I'm a huge proponent of, especially with these types of questions, you yourself asking questions back. It's more so, I would say, how you think. Do you ask questions? And then are you able to relate it in some way, shape, or form back to a soft skill?
So with these questions, they're wondering, how do you process the question? What kind of comes to your mind? Really trying to judge your personality a little bit to see how, what your reaction is to uncertain situations.
With these, a lot of people fall into the traps of answering the question as soon as the hiring manager finishes asking it, and then they end up trapping themselves or going down a stream of consciousness that leads them to nowhere.
Take a second to breathe before answering the questions. I think it's completely fair if you laugh it off a little and say, that's such an interesting question. I'd love for a second to think about that. That, again, alleviates any awkwardness that there might be between you and the interviewer, because you let them know exactly what you're feeling.
And if I was the recruiter and I saw somebody do that to me, I would think, wow, this person has their stuff together. This person is okay with discomfort and is okay with taking up an extra 5 seconds before actually answering my question.
Remember that there is no right answer, and to always back it up with the why you answered something. And if you can explain your thought process of the answer, again, that gives them more insight about who you are as a person.
The second piece of advice, and this is very specific, not sponsored in any way, shape, or form by them. I just love it. Original table topics, questions to start great conversations. So these ask random questions to essentially spark dialogue with people you don't know. It trains the mind to adapt quickly to different questions that literally can come from anywhere. And the faster you can adapt, the better. As an executive recruiter who has interviewed hundreds and hundreds of people, my biggest piece of advice with this question is to know your story and be confident with who you are.
For me, what's really helpful is to write down all of my personal values and memorize that to a T. Because if you can incorporate those values into your answer, you're simply speaking to whatever you can bring to the table by joining this team.
We're really just looking for who you are as a person and trying to get a sense, is this person somebody that I want to work with? Is this somebody that will mesh well with others? Can this person add to our culture?
Another great tip is to understand the company's values. Understand how that aligns with yours. And if there's no right answer to the question that you feel aligns with your values, go ahead and pull it from the company's values, because in an interview, like, it is just as much as the company selling themselves to you.
And if you yourself are not confident with who you are, personally or professionally, it's going to show through these types of questions. I would rather have somebody answer one of the bizarre questions in a very funky, joking way and own that, rather than be very thrown off and visibly uncomfortable.
I hope this video got you to see that we're all human, and I know it feels like there's this pressure to be perfect, but the truth is you're going to mess up and you're going to make mistakes, and that's okay. It's how you react to what's thrown at you that differentiates you from everyone else. So get out there and be awesome. That's all for today, folks. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. I've also added links to Guneet and Michael's social profiles in the description if you'd like to connect with them. Feel free to reach out to any of us if anything during this video connected with you. I'll talk to you again soon.